Bald eagles are basically being poisoned by lead. Um, an alarming number of North American bald eagles and golden eagles are suffering from lead poisoning, and it's a result of scavenging on animals that are shot with lead bullets. Now, the research is a call to action for for conservations and also hunters to mitigate this disturbing trend. Now, research and science shows that lead, a toxic metal, is surprisingly prevalent in eagles across North America. The degree for lead poisoning among these protected birds was found to vary depending on the location, season, and age, and it's having a measurable effect on their ability to reproduce. As this lead primarily comes from ammunition, the research shows that it is as a previously underappreciated environmental toxin. It was surprising to everyone that nearly 50% of the eagles in our study showed the evidence of repeated exposure to lead over the course of their lives. This is coming from Vincent Slabe, who's an author of the study and a research scientist at West Virginia University, and this is what he said in an email. Previously, we knew that eagles encountered lead, but now that we understand how prevalent the issue is, we can start thinking about solutions to correct this problem. And while these eagles are not currently listed as endangered, but many protective laws still exist at the federal level. Other toxins, such as rat poison, continue to make life difficult for these majestic birds. These predatory birds are susceptible to lead poisoning was already well known, but the precise data had been lacking. The new study is the first to demonstrate the extent of the problem at the continental scale, um, as opposed um, as opposed to studies done regionally or locally. Now, these birds primarily consume the lead by ingesting ammunition, fragments that are embedded in dead animals. When a lead bullet pierces an animal, it is designed to spread out or break apart into a lot of pieces, said Slabe. Now, those pieces can be small, but when ingested, it can kill an eagle that accidentally consumes even one of them. Other sources of lead include lead paint, fishing tackle, and runoff from mining activities. Now, lead can wreak havoc on virtually every system in an eagle's body. Slabe said that the poisoned birds are less likely to survive and reproduce as they become less able to source and digest their prey. Now, lead poisoning makes eagles sluggish, and they can paralyze their digestive system, and it can prevent them from eating. It can trigger vomiting and induce brain damage. It also can result in blindness, seizures, weakness, and death. Even at low doses, it can impair the functioning of the brain, organs, immune, and reproductive systems. Slabe and his colleague Slabe and his colleagues analyzed both bald and golden eagles across 38 different states, which included Alaska being in there, gathering data from 2010 to 2018, in what is an impressively thorough study. The researchers had looked for lead by testing the blood of the live eagles and by analyzing bone, livers, and feathers of the dead eagles, and they did not track any lead exposure over that time. But lead poisoning was more prevalent in older birds, which is less likely due to the steady accumulation of lead over time. Of the 1,210 birds analyzed, 47% of bald eagles and 46% of the golden eagles exhibited concentrations that are consistent with the chronic lead poisoning. The result of repeated exposure, the short-term exposures were more frequent during the winter, and which tracks as dead animals are which are which dead animals are an important food source for the eagles during those challenging months. The environmental toxin appears to be reducing the rate of the population growth for both species of these eagles. According to the study, the growth rate of bald eagles is declining 4% each year, while the growth rate for golden eagles is dropping about 1% annually. Eagles living in the central interior portions of North America, specifically a region known as the Central Flyaway Zone, exhibited a higher level of lead than their counterparts living near the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. A possible explanation is that eagles have unexplained differential scavenging rates in various different zones, as the scientists write. In an email, Katzner, who's a wildlife conservation ecologist with the U.S. Geological Survey, and he's a co-author of the paper, said the eagles in the Central Flyway were more likely to be lead poisoned than other eagles, but the new data shows and that provides no new insight into why that is the case. Now the team will now seek to try to understand these patterns, he added. The scientists also have documented the rate of acute lead poisoning. Now this is where the higher exposure, it's a higher exposure to blood across what they call short time scales among North American eagles. Now, nearly 30% of bald eagles and 9% of the golden eagles exhibit severe type of lead poisoning. The adults appeared to be most affected, and it tended to happen during the autumn and winter months, and it was most prominent in the central flyaway zones. SLAPE is currently organizing a non-lead ammunition program to mitigate the problem of lead poisoning among North American eagles, and the fact that the extent of the problem compelled him to take his new career in a new direction upon completing his PhD. Now, SLAPE and his colleagues are currently running these programs in southeast Wyoming and southwest Montana. Now, there is a really good scientific evidence that when presented with information on this problem, hunters lead the way in switching to non-lead ammunition. SLAPE said, "Hunters are the solution to the problem of lead poisoning of eagles and other scavengers, and the hunting community is extremely valuable to conservation." And to which he added, as a hunter himself, "This problem and the solution resonate with me on multiple different levels." So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. And you can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And also, if you want to donate to my Patreon link, you could find that on you can find it on my YouTube, on the YouTube About section for my channel, and you can donate and contribute what you want to help further support the channel. So